So here we are looking at JS. So this is a challenge which can help you to get started with JavaScript. So we can just open the challenge. So here we get a plain page saying reversing but not reversing, and so we can take a look at the source code first. So we can take a look at the page source. So at the name itself says JSRev, so it has something to do with JavaScript. So we first take a look at the script tag, and there is this script which is given at one line. So like it is given in a long one line, so which is not easily readable, and we cannot understand easily like what's happening here, what's going on here. So we have to convert this into a more readable format. So we can just copy this. We can just copy this, and we can go to this JavaScript prettifier. We can input it, and we can type prettifier, and it will give us in a more readable format. So this is a JavaScript prettifier. There is many like this. This is just one of them. You can just get any of them by typing JS prettify or JavaScript prettify. So there are many of them. So it will give us it into a more readable format. Here we can a little more easily understand what's going on. So here we can understand that there is three functions here, and what they are doing with the flag, they are calling three functions on the flag. So they are calling ASCII to hexa first, then they are calling shift, then they are calling B to A, then they are storing it in code. So that code is what we got this. This is the encoded form of the flag. So we have to reverse this logic and use that on this string to get the flag. So we have to understand what this code does. So here at first we have ASCII to hexa. So here there is this for loop which will loop through all the letters of the string, and it will take that letters ASCII value and it will convert that to hexadecimal. So it will basically hex encoding that string. So you can go to internet and type hex decoder or hex encoder, and you will get many hex encoders and decoders. So what hex encoding does is like every number has an equivalent hexadecimal value. So what it does, so if you give a string, it will convert that. It will take each character's hexadecimal value and concatenate. That's all. That's what they does here. So what we can do is we can also check that here it's all JavaScript. So we can check that it's in the browser console itself. So the function name is ASCII to hexa, and we can call the function like this, and we can put in some values, and if we call that function, it will give us its hex encoded form. That's what that ASCII to hexa does. It will take each character and convert it into hexadecimal. Then there is this is_alpha. So it will check whether char dot to uppercase is not equal to char dot to lowercase. So only letters have uppercase not equal to lowercase. Digits 1, 2, 3, they don't have uppercase and lowercase. They will be equal. So what happens is, if we call this on any letter, it will return true as the uppercase is not equal to lowercase. But if we call it on any number, the uppercase is same as lowercase, so it will return false. So it is basically used to check if it's a letter or a digit. So we can check that, like we can use is_alpha of A, it will return true. But if we use is_alpha of 1, we have to give it as a character, so it will give false. Then we have this function shift. Okay, so what this does is it has this alphas, which is the a string containing alphabets in the order. It has digit which contain digits in the order. So it will first check for each character. There is a for loop which iterates through each character of the string. Then for each character it will check whether that character is a letter or a digit. That is what this function that we just explained above. Then it will take three, if it's a character, it will take 3 characters after the character. So if the string contains a, it will convert that to d. So like we can use check that function too, like if we give shift of a b c d e f g, so it is basically shifting that a each letter by 3. And if we give numbers like 1 2 3 4 5 6, it is shifting each number by 8. So it will take 8 add 8, and it will there is this modulus 10, so the number will always be less than 10. And there is this modulus 26, as there are it will be always be less than z, and after z it will go back to a. That's what. So for characters it will move back 3 characters, and for digit it will go 8 digits. So at first it calls ASCII to hexa, then it calls shift, then it calls B to A. So B to A, what B to A does is it will convert that to base 64 encryption. So if we pass a string, it will encode it in base 64. Okay, so this is base 60 encryption and this is base 64 encryption. So like B2A encrypts into base 64, and there is this function in JavaScript itself which is A to B, which is a reverse for this function. So if we paste this right here, it will give us the original string. So we can use that for to reverse B to A, but for shift we have to use another function. We have to take this logic and reverse this logic. So we can do that also in the console. So we can take this function. We can take this function. So here it's taking 3 characters. We can just minus 3 to reverse that logic, and here we have to iterate through all, as it is 8 and there is only 10 numbers. So like there must be more numbers. In the case of characters, they are hex encoding it. So in the hex encoded form, the most they can get is f, the character f. So whatever it is, we can f will be converted to I in this form. So the largest they can get is I, and we can just minus 3 from this. But in here, if we just minus 3, so like if they get 0 and we minus 8, they will get minus 8, but the actual number is 2. So like we have to go through every number. So we have to create a for loop to iterate through all numbers from 1 to 0 to 10. Then we will check if x equal to digit of j plus 8 modulus 10, the same as we do here. We will check that if that equal to x, then we will n equal to n dot concat digit of j, and we can delete this line. Then we can so this is, we can name it another, we can give it another name. So this will reverse that logic. So if we give this, and first we have to ask, at last they use B to A. So this is base 64 encrypted. So first we have to use A to B. First we have to store that value in a variable. So we can use the same variable code. So we get that variable code. Then we can use A to B of code, which will base 64 decode it so we will get this value, and here itself we can use the function we created, dshift. Yeah, so here we use the function dshift, and it gives the gave us some hex value. So we can also decode this in the console itself, but we can get many hex encoders and decoders here, where we can just paste this string and convert, and it will give us the flag. So and we can go and submit it, and we get the flag. That's all.
Now we'll be going through the challenge called Say My Name from Traboda. Looking at the source, you can see there is nothing much given, so we can directly head to the deployment. So in the home page there is nothing much except this test saying I am not Blade Dream, now say my name. So we can have a look at the source, and from the source we can see that there is some JavaScript, and we can try to understand what this does. So in the first line it's printing a text to the console, and in the second line it's defining a function called change me. So we can see what this function does. So in the first line in the function it's sending a get request to the endpoint called who am I, and saying its response to the variable x. In the second line we can see that response is converted to a JSON object and saved to the variable z, and then the name property of that object saved in z is accessed and set to the and set as HTML. Next we can see that there is an if statement which checks if the name property is not equal to the string called Heisenberg, and if this statement returns true, then the return keyword will be called, which means the function will stop executing and it will return. So the code after this statement will not be executed. So we can see what this other part of the code is. It sets the background image as heisenberg.jpg, and in the last line it will actually add an h1 element saying you're goddamn right, have this flag, and it prints the flag. So we can see what this endpoint called who am I returns by sending a get request to the endpoint who am I. So you can see it actually returns an object with a property name set as some string called Blade Dream. So that's what actually is shown in the home page, saying I am not Blade Dream. So from the JavaScript we can see that if we set this, like somehow set this name property to the string Heisenberg, we can actually print the flag. Since this statement will return false, so this return keyword will not be executed, so it will print the flag. So so we can have a look at the cookies. So so this is the cookie set in this page. So the cookie is called who am I, and has this weird string set at it as its value. So we can see that it's set to this value. So at the first look it looks very random, but it is actually a JWT token. So basically a JWT token is a base64 encoded string. It is divided into 3 parts separated by dots. So this is how the JWT token is divided. It is divided into 3 parts: header, payload and signature. Header specifies the algorithm and type of the JWT token. The payload part contains the data in key value pairs, and the signature part contains a signature, which is a random string generated in the backend using a secret. So JWT token is cryptographically signed, and how these JWT tokens work is like the server generates a token that certifies a specific user's identity and sends it to the client, and the client will send this token back to the server for every subsequent request, and the server validates this token using the secret, so that the server knows the request comes from a particular identity. And this looks secure, but if like this JWT token is not properly implemented, it will lead to certain vulnerabilities like authentication bypasses. So that is what actually happening in this challenge. So in this challenge, in the backend, it is using a secret to validate this JWT token, but it is a very weak secret. So the secret string is actually like a password. So if it is a very weak secret, we can easily brute force it. Also, there is a site called jwt.io, which makes it easier to work with JWT tokens. So if we give our JWT token to the site, it will decode it and print its contents. So here we can see that our JWT token is using algorithm HS256, and its type is set to JWT, and in the payload part we can see that this IAM is set to late dream. So we have to actually change this to Heisenberg to actually get the flag. So to brute force the secret, I used a tool called JWT crack, and we just have to specify our JWT token to this tool, and it will actually brute force for the secret, brute force the secret of this JWT token. So after running this tool for a while, it actually cracked the secret, and it is PHNRX. This was the secret for signing this token. So we can use this jwt.io to forge a new token using this same secret. So here we have to specify the secret, which was PHNRX. So here we have to change it to Heisenberg to solve the challenge. So if we set this to Heisenberg and we gave the password, it will forge a new token, and if we set the cookie as this new token, save it and refresh the page. So there is something wrong. Now if you refresh the page, we can see that we get the flag. So that's it. That was this challenge. So you can submit the flag.
Hello everyone. Today we are discussing the challenge Man Reader from Traboda. So this is the challenge site, and we can enter a Linux command in this input box. So we can enter ls, and when we click read, the output is shown here. So this is the Linux man page for the ls command. So we can see how it is generated in the backend. So when we run the man ls command in the terminal, so we can see the same output is shown here also. So the backend is running this command man with our input and showing the output of that here. So we can give another command like echo. It's also a Linux command. So it is showing the man page of that command. And so as the server is executing a system command, so there is a chance of a vulnerability called OS command injection. So let's discuss more about that OS command injection. So this is the BIOS wiki, and you can read more about OS command injection in this. So what is OS command injection is, we can execute arbitrary system commands from the web interface. So here we have a web interface which is running a command in the background. So if we can run arbitrary, which means the command we want to run, and so if we can run that command, that is a OS command injection vulnerability. So we can see how we can exploit this vulnerability. So how we can run our own commands. Here the website is running man command in the backend. So now we have to run our own commands like ls, cat and all. So we can read files from the server. So here are some useful operators for command injection. So we can see what it does. The colon operator or semicolon operator is used for running multiple commands. So we can separate two Linux commands using the semicolon operator, so that it will be both the commands will be run. So as an example, I can show in the terminal. So first we run our man ls command, and then we can put a semicolon and then ls, and this is the output of man ls, and when we can see it ran our ls command also. This is the files in the directory, so it ran that command also. So see, it ran that ls command also. So we can run commands through this. So the same as we can use ampersand symbol, double ampersand and pipes also for running Linux commands, multiple Linux commands. So you can read more about in the BIOS wiki itself. Now we get back to our challenge. So here we can see our command. We can add another command like ls. So let's see what happens. So we can see there is no manual entry for echo. So this is the output. So our input is wrong, so the system is not executing the command. So we can just try inputting other commands, other bypasses. There are a lot of bypasses for command injection. You can learn more about by just googling. So here you can see, if we insert a quote, so we can run Linux commands within quotes also. So this is the terminal, and man quotes ls. So it gives the same output. So there is no difference between the quoted command or the unquoted command. So both will execute the same. And so we can see if the server is running like that. So we can enter a quote, so that will break. So if we enter ls quote, so there will be two quotes at the end, like man ls, and then we also add a quote. There will be 2 quotes at the end, so the command will not be executed. So we get some error. So we can see, we can see unterminated quote string. So the command is not executed in the backend. Now we can see if we can use, like, after this quote, after we add a quote, we can just put a semicolon and add another command, and it's just ls command, and we specify a directory for ls, and then we put a single quote so that this last single quote will match with this single quote, so that it will be not get unmatched. So we just run that and see our ls command is also executed. So we can just try that on the website. Here we have run echo, and then we put a single quote, and then we can put a semicolon so that we can pass another commands, and I just put a single quote so that, so you have to specify a directory. You specify dot as it is a current directory, and we just put a single quote after that so that the last code will be matched. So we can just try. So here you can see it is we get the result back, and at the end you can see some files: main.py, requirement.txt, static templates, and some other files also. So we can remove this so that it will not execute the first command, but it will execute the second command. So it executed the second command and it gave us the result back. So this is the result for ls, and we can if there is a we can ls-la to list all the files, like within if there is a hidden file or something, we can get that files by ls-la, and you can see there is a secret.dat file in the server, so we can see what is the content inside that. So for that we can use cat command, cat, so it will read the file and show its contents. So cat and that secret.dat file, and here you get the flag, and that's how you can solve this challenge. So you can learn more about OS command injection in the BIOS wiki.